Hi guys, just a very quick look at Dax40. So previously I spoke about this candlestick over here, and I said that it is a liquidity candlestick as it's carrying a lot of liquidity at that level, and that in the future we might see price actually pushing down to that level, right? I also spoke about the fact that we had a very strong resistance area here, sorry, a support area here, and that we saw price bouncing here, bouncing off there, and in this region we saw price retesting that support area once again. So it well may be that price is actually getting ready to move further up. However, in the back of our minds, we just need to keep the fact that we have this liquidity candlestick over here, and that there's a lot of money sitting at this level, and that the market in the future may come down to this level to grab that liquidity, right? Um, I also spoke about how we have an information over here, or a head and shoulders pattern, and that we are still to see price coming to that level to retest that level, or that neckline, and then possibly push further down, right? We also have this candlestick over here. It is a liquidity candlestick as well, and it is holding a lot of liquidity at that level where it ends. So we might see that price not only comes here to test that neckline, but also to grab the liquidity that's trapped at that level as well, because there's a whole lot of money that is sitting there, and we know by now that the market always goes to where the money is sitting. So from here, let me just go to the weekly chart. Okay. So here we are on the weekly chart. Previously, I had spoken about how we have an information in this region, and that in order for this information to be complete, price has to reach somewhere at this point to really complete that M structure. Similarly, or rather, we also have a neckline here, and the neckline is yet to be tested. We saw price breaking the neckline, and we may see in the future, or rather in the next week, price going back to the neckline to retest it, and then possibly push further down. So we may be looking for possible selling opportunities at this point, and our take profit should be around the zone over here where this candlestick actually ends, right? So what I'm gonna do right now is add a neckline to that M structure. Just bear with me. So there goes our neckline. Just remember that necklines are not an actual line like we have the crosshairs. Necklines are more of an area. So we can also say that actually this whole area is the neckline, right? But just um, to make things look smoother, I'm just going to make it a smaller neckline, right? Let's continue. Another thing that is also very, very important is how this candlestick ended, which is last week's candlestick. If we can just zoom in, we can see that it is a liquidity candlestick as well, and it confirms to us that price has to come to that level to grab that liquidity, hopefully in the next week, right? Um, what I'm going to do now is just add a line to that candlestick. Just bear with me. Let's see, make it a blue. Okay, that should be fine. There we go. Is there anything else on this particular chart that is interesting? In previous videos, I also spoke about how we have this liquidity candlestick over there. We have one here as well, and we have another one at that level as well. So in the future, price has to reach all of these levels, because there's a whole lot of money trapped at all these levels. Nonetheless, let's move forward. From here, I'm just going to move to the daily chart. So here we are on the daily chart. Let's see. So the first thing that I'm going to do on this chart is add my channel. Just bear with me. I just need to ensure that the channel is as accurate as possible. There we go. There we go. So what else do we see on this daily chart that is particularly interesting? One thing that is interesting on this chart is the fact that we have in this region a gap, and that tells us that the market at some point has to reach this level to trigger that liquidity, right? We also have in this region an M formation or a head and shoulders pattern, and the neckline is yet to be tested. However, at this point in time, we're not going to focus on this neckline because the most important neckline at this point is this one, which is the neckline of that huge M structure that I spoke about on the weekly chart. Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see on this chart that is interesting? I'm just gonna add actually a trend line, an inner trend line, that is. Just bear with me. And apologies for the background noise. There seems to be some dogs making a noise. I'm just gonna make it a pink color as well. There we go. There we go. That's fine. So what else do we see on this chart that is interesting? So we can see that the last daily candle, or Friday's candle rather, closed as a very strong bullish candle, and it closed above this trend line over here. So at this point, a lot of people are gonna start looking for further selling opportunities. They're gonna start looking for possible further opportunities. However, just bear in mind that we have this level as well, which is carrying so much liquidity at that level, and it may happen that before price actually moves further up, it may come to this level to grab that liquidity and then only move up, right? Also, because we have this neckline over here, which is the neckline of that huge M structure, price may just be coming over here to retest the neckline and then push further down, right? So let's continue. Another thing to also pay attention to is the fact that the market seems to be forming a W at this point, right? And I can tell you now that a lot of people have seen this W. It's actually an overextended W and have bought at this point. Others are waiting for the neckline of this W structure to be broken by the market. Once it's been broken, they're gonna be looking for possible, or rather, be looking to add to their buying trades. Others are gonna wait for price to come back to the neckline to retest it and add more trades again, putting their stop losses in this region over here, as well as in this region over here. So there's a whole lot of money that's in the zone, and it may be that the market is actually creating a trap. It may be that the market is actually creating a trap because we have a W here, and we know that a lot of investors put their stop losses just below that structure in this manner, right? Anyway, let's proceed. Is there anything else of value that we see on this particular chart? I don't think so. So what I'm going to do now is head down to the H4 chart. Just bear with me. On the H4 chart, I'm just going to fix my lines just to make sure that they are as accurate as can be. There we go. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Right. So what do we see on this H4 chart? What do we see on this H4 chart? Let's see. What do we see on this H4 chart that is interesting? So remember on the daily chart, I spoke about how we have a W formation forming here, and I mentioned that a lot of people have already bought in this region, and others are waiting for price to break the neckline and then add to their orders. Over and above that, we also have in this region an inverted head and shoulders pattern with the neckline being there, right? So this again tells us that more people actually on the H4 chart bought again at this point, and others are waiting for, or rather, let's see, yeah, the neckline has been broken. The neckline has been broken. Let's see. Others, let me just recap. On the H4 chart, because of the small head and shoulders pattern, a lot of investors have bought in this region. Others bought again in that region after the break of that neckline, right? But you just need to keep in mind the fact that we have this neckline as well of that huge structure that we spoke about. Okay. So definitely there is a whole lot of money sitting at this level. And like I said, guys, it may happen that the market is planning to push to this point and then push further down to grab the liquidity of that liquidity candlestick, as well as to grab all those stop losses that are in this region, right? Anyway, let's continue. Is there anything else of value that we see on this chart, which is the H4 chart? Um, at this point, I don't really see anything of value. We just also need to remember that we have a gap here, right? Don't forget that. So as much as we're thinking that the market may bounce at this area where we have the neckline, it may actually push further up to the zone to trigger that liquidity of that gap, and then only push further down, right? So these are all the possibilities, and we just need to make sure that we're on top of everything in terms of all the possible outcomes that may take place. So that is it, guys, in as far as my analysis goes for DAX30. If you have any further questions, just make them in the relevant sections. Thanks for watching and peace out.